There's a Pokemon in Gen 1 with higher attack than Snorlax. It can abuse one of the most broken mechanics in Pokemon history. It can sweep entire teams in seconds, and most players boxed it immediately. Not because it was weak, but because nobody realized how strong it actually was. Today, Pokélytics is exposing the hidden monster of Pokemon Red and Blue. And by the end of this video, you may never look at Kingler the same way again. But Kingler's raw stats aren't even the most broken part. There's one specific Gen 1 mechanic that turns Kingler from strong into something genuinely unfair. We'll get to that, but first we need to talk about why nobody used it. Think back to your Gen 1 team. You probably had a Charizard, Alakazam if you got the trade, or a Gyarados, the main characters. Meanwhile, Kingler was something you found randomly while fishing or surfing. It didn't feel important, it didn't feel powerful, it felt temporary, so players boxed it. But here's the problem. The numbers tell a completely different story. Kingler has 130 attack. That's higher than Rhydon, Gyarados, and Snorlax. This isn't a mid-tier Pokemon. This is an elite Pokemon. But raw attack alone doesn't explain what makes Kingler broken. The real reason is what happens when you double it. Because Kingler has access to a move that effectively breaks Gen 1's balance, and most players never used it. Swords Dance doubles your attack stat. Kingler goes from a 130 to a 260. That's not balanced. That's catastrophic. At the level of damage, most Pokemon simply stop functioning at these defensive walls. They become liabilities. But even that isn't the most broken part, because Gen 1 has a mechanic that makes Kingler even more dangerous. Hyper Beam is supposed to have a drawback. You gotta recharge, except in Generation 1. That drawback doesn't exist if Hyper Beam knocks out the opponent. Let that sink in. Kingler can knock something out and immediately attack again. No recharge, no punishment, no counterplay. This means once Kingler starts winning, it accelerates. Every knockout makes the next knockout easier. This creates a snowball effect that can end battles instantly. And here's the crazy part. Most players never experienced this because they ended up boxing Kingler for someone else. High damage Pokemon are usually fragile. Kingler isn't. It has 115 defense. That's higher than many fully evolved tanks. This allows Kingler to survive physical attacks long enough to set up a Swords Dance, which means it doesn't just hit hard. It creates opportunities to hit harder. But there's still one stat we haven't discussed, and it's a stat that determines whether Kingler wins or loses most battles. Because in Gen 1, moving first often decides everything. Kingler has a 75 speed. This allows it to outspeed key threats like a Snorlax or even a Lapras. This creates a critical advantage, because if Kingler moves first, the opponent might not ever move at all. This is especially dangerous if it's able to survive enough to land a Swords Dance, where in a couple of turns, Kingler can end the whole match. Now, this isn't even just a theory. In the Pokemon series, Ash Ketchum's Kingler entered the battle and immediately swept its first opponents. No struggle, no difficulty, just elimination. For once, the anime didn't exaggerate, it understood. Kingler wasn't weak, it was overlooked. It didn't look like a powerhouse, it didn't have wings, it wasn't a starter, it didn't have a legendary status. But the numbers don't care about perception, they care about performance. And Kingler performs at an elite level. It has top tier attack, elite physical bulk, some setup potential, and a broken Gen 1 synergy, everything required to dominate. Kingler isn't just usable, it isn't just viable. It qualifies as one of the most strongest physical attackers in Generation 1. Not because of popularity, because of mechanics, because of stats, because of data. However, Kingler isn't even the most underrated Gen 1 Pokemon. There's another that performs even better in the simulations, and almost nobody uses it. Professor Krabby is already running the numbers.